Love is the strongest magnetic force in the universe. Each time we choose love, we enjoy life more. Each time we choose love, we enhance the quality of our life. Each time we choose love, life seems brighter and clearer. Love heals. Love soothes. Love elevates. Love forgives. Love gives us hope. Love brings us joy and abundance. Love makes us grow. Love feels good. Love makes life colorful. We are all here to learn about love, to love yourself more, and therefore others. Real love is selfless and free from fear. It's joy in the pain. Love more. Love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. Speaking of love,
what an incredible way to honor her father and help others heal from the loss of a loved one due to suicide.
Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, and I am your host, Latoya. I created this podcast in honor of my dad, who was an amazing guy. He had an infectious laugh, and his spirit was magnetic. He was the type of guy who made everybody feel like somebody special. If you were to place him in a crowded room of 100 people, my dad would be the smartest person in the entire room. He was an award-winning radio TV broadcast engineer for many years. Born and raised in the city of Detroit, he was one of the first to go to college in his family. And while attending Wayne State University, he developed a lifelong love affair with the game of basketball. He was the shortest point guard on the team, but he could slam dunk the basketball with either hand. By all outward appearances, my dad lived a rewarding life, but there were parts of him that were known to only him. On March 2nd of 2020, my dad's private struggles became public when he took his own life in a murder-suicide. When he died, a part of me died too. And since the tragedy, I have become an advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. I also created this beautiful podcast in honor of my dad and others like him who are struggling with the effects of mental health challenges. My podcast, Speaking of Love, is named after a show my dad once hosted called Speaking of Sports. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today as we take a journey in pursuit of the strongest magnetic force on the planet Earth, and that's love. My name is Latoya Bond, and I have a podcast called Speaking of Love. My podcast is dedicated to the memory of my dad who took his own life in a murder-suicide. Aside from that, I am a business owner. I have a home-based business. I am also a legal professional during my 9-to-5 day. And I am a person who operates her entire life on the premise of spreading love. It's the secret to my success. It's the secret to my longevity on this earth, and it's what keeps us going because love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. So that's why I'm here today to talk about my favorite subject in the whole wide world, and that's love. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speaking of Love. My name is Latoya, and I am the host of this podcast. I am so happy to be here today. I have a wonderful person here, my 144th guest. His name is Bill Newsome, and I am super excited to have Bill here today. How are you today, Bill?
Good, Latoya. How are you? And I do thank you for giving me the opportunity to share in your quest for love for others as well.
Oh, yes, we have a beautiful show lined up today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to introduce a man whose journey is a testament of perseverance, success, and the power of love. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, housing project, Bill Newsom discovered early that he was destined for greatness. Excelling in school and fueled by a passion for basketball, he embraced the challenges of his neighborhood with determination and drive. His academic achievements led him to a successful career in NYC Employees Retirement System, where he dedicated his time to helping countless individuals, including high school students, secure their futures. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Bill has remained deeply committed to his community. As a volunteer basketball coach at his local recreational center, he continues to inspire young athletes, passing on the same discipline and passion that shaped his very own life. In 2024, Bill embarked on a new chapter, retirement and authorship. His book, entitled When Love Calls, You Better Answer, is a heartfelt reflection of his life, lessons, and the profound impact of love. Everyone, please help me welcome today's incredible guest, Mr. Bill Newsom. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Latoya. Thank you for that wonderful intro.
Well, thank you. It's all about you and what you've done, your accomplishments. So thank you for being here. I was introduced to Bill by a gentleman named Mitch. Mitch is one of the directors of the Murder Suicide Loss Network. And Mitch is a very good friend of Bill. And he introduced me to Bill as a prospective guest for my podcast. And so I'm very careful about who I allow into this space, because this is a sacred space. And a lot of times people will want to be on the show just to be here. But your connection to my dad is so profound, Bill. You love basketball. You've had a very successful career. You've dedicated your life to helping others. There are so many similarities. You were also a college basketball star. So I have so many great feelings about our interview today, because this show is about my dad and is dedicated to my dad. But you encompass all the things that my dad represented as a man. And I just thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you too. And as a father myself, I know that your dad is smiling down and he is very appreciative of the fact that you're doing what you're doing and you're living like he's living vicariously through you. And I applaud you for what you're doing.
Thank you. You know, sometimes I feel sad about my dad and I miss him tremendously, but I realize I would not have been able to meet all these amazing people from around the world, different walks of life, if he hadn't passed away. So there is always a brighter side to the dark side. So meeting you today is truly an honor.
Thank you.
So tell me about your life. You grew up in Brooklyn, New York. You're this young man. You love to play basketball in your neighborhood. Tell me about growing up as Bill Newsom.
Well, I will go back. So as you mentioned, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York in 1957. And I lived in, at the time, an inclusive housing project. And I attended Most Holy Trinity Elementary School, George Westinghouse Vocational and Technical High School, and State University in New York at Oswego. Life was really good for me when I was growing up, as I had a lot of friends and I played all the sports my neighborhood had to offer, and excelling in basketball, specifically in handball. So because of how I grew up and the environment that I grew up, it was a really good launching pad for the rest of my life.
Wow, that's beautiful. So at what point did you discover that you were a great basketball player? About what age did that revelation come to you?
Well, it was funny. Ironically, my mother indirectly taught me and my brother how to play basketball. What she used to do, we used to go out in the summer when I was 9 and he was 8, and we had a ball, and she used to tell us, if you can get a ball on the basket, I will buy you guys some ice cream. So we kept trying to get up there and shoot. And then after a while, when we finally got it in there, she said, okay, you guys need to make 5 in a row before I can get you some ice cream. And then it was 10 in a row. And it was like, you guys are getting too good. I can't buy you ice cream anymore. So, but my neighborhood was very competitive. I mean, the New York City playgrounds, for those of you out there that either may have heard or watched people play, it's very, very competitive. So I didn't know how good I actually was until I was about 13. And when I started playing in very competitive leagues, and I was averaging about 24 points a game. And then, like your dad, I was 5'11" at my tallest height. I was able to dunk backwards. So I had to, really high vertical leap, and I was able to shoot from like 35, 40 feet. So I was a problem for some folks. And I just took that skill set to college with me at Oswego. And then when I graduated, I started teaching and coaching youth, and then coaching AAU basketball. So basketball was a passion of mine, and I did everything that I can do with basketball, between officiating, working the concession stands, travel teams, all of that good stuff. And I love basketball. I try to share and give back what I've learned to others.
Wow, you're speaking to my heart. You're speaking to my heart. My dad also coached basketball, and I have a photo here I'm going to show to our audience. This is my dad at the Beechwood Recreational Center. Like you, Bill, he coached these children. It was a recreational center located not too far from Detroit. And as you can see, the love in the picture, basketball was like a part of his life all the time. He loved basketball. And so when I found out that you were also a coach, I had to have you here. I knew it. And so being here today is just, my heart is so warm. I didn't even really sleep well last night. I was so excited about our interview today.
Thank you.
So, Bill, you have written this wonderful book. I'm going to show our audience the book that you have written, and it's called When Love Calls, You Better Answer, a love story unlike any other. Talk to me about this book, Bill.
This book is a true and incredible love story that began in 1989 from my wife, Sheila, and I, and it details my first-person account of the heart-wrenching situations that tested my faith and resolve. It begins in what was the worst moment of my life, and it's a love story, a real-life story, and a love survival story of love, faith, inspiration, determination, and hope for anyone who feels there is no hope for love. This truly is a love story unlike any other that is still thriving today, and we're going into our 35th year of knowing each other, and September 7th, we'll be married for 34 years.
Wow. And I understand that you started writing this book, was it on Valentine's Day in 2024?
Yes. Now, here's the thing. I told her when we met way back when that, and this was prophetic. I told her, I said, hey, the situations that caused us to meet and the circumstances that preceded us meeting and up to the day we met, I said, it's so incredible. It's like, I'm going to write a book about this, but I'm not going to write it until I retire. So subliminally, I was letting her know, hey, Sheila, you're going to be with me when I retire. So, we didn't even know it at the time. We hadn't committed to each other at that time in any way other than we just started talking. And I am telling her, I'm going to write a book about this situation when I retire, which I figured was going to be 30 some odd years in the future. So I kept my promise to her, and I started writing it on Valentine's Day of last year.
Wow. And then when did you publish the book?
The book wasn't officially finished and published and ready for distribution until January of this year. So a lot went into it. I had to go back and get a lot of details and remember things, and it was emotionally bringing me back to those moments when I was writing it. So it was hard, but it was something that I knew I was going to do, and I'm a man of my word, so I kept that word to her.
So what is the one lesson that you want readers to gain from your book? What's the purpose of it?
For me, and what I want to share too, the lesson I learned about myself was I was able to go through a lot more than I thought I could as I persevered and I got to the other side because of my faith and consistency. And it's what they should do is make sure that they don't give up hope. I mean, there's always hope. It's like you could be going through a bad spell. You just have to really know that there's someone for you. Because if those that have purchased the book already that might be watching this, and those that haven't, if and when you do purchase the book, when you read the circumstances, you'll be saying to yourself, I just can't believe it. I don't know if I could have did it. But after reading this, you will say, well, they went through a whole lot. And if they can go through this, maybe I can push through a little more. There's somebody for me. There's always someone for you. And it's not just one person. There's several people out there. You have to meet that particular person at that point in time in your life that will help you with everything and help you become a better version of yourself. And that's what Sheila did for me.
Where did you come up with the title, When Love Calls, You Better Answer?
Well, it's funny. The 2 years before I started writing this book, when I was still working, I was thinking about a title and I couldn't come up with titles. And I love to listen to R&B songs, love songs particularly. And I was listening to all these other songs. And finally, when I was listening to the words in detail, I said, you know what? This is a song title that it's an abbreviated song title, but I used the entire lyric between the song title, how the situation came up, and just, it's not really a spoiler, but the way I met Sheila, and I'm not going to go into the deep background of it. I happened to call her like right after the worst moment of my life, and she picked up the phone, and she wasn't even at her house. She was at a family member's house. So all of the circumstances which led to her being at that house at that particular time, her answering the phone, which was another thing because my family member always answered the phone, and her being able to answer that phone and just at the right time in my life, I know that, God directed her to me. And this was going to be something special after I got off that phone call. I just couldn't believe what had happened. And she flipped me around from the worst moment of despair to a moment of exhilaration. And now here we are. We've known each other 34, almost 35 years. And if things hadn't worked out the way that it did, I never would have met her.
Wow, that's so beautiful, heart-touching. The book is called When Love Calls, You Better Answer. I'm going to put the cover of the book up here again so that people can see. Oh, he has it. Okay. And the book is available on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon and you type in his name, Bill Newsome, When Love Calls, You Better Answer, the book is there and it's available for you to purchase. Please support him and purchase this beautiful book about love. It's amazing. What do you love most about being an author, Bill?
Well, since this is my first book and hopefully not my last, and because it was real life, it seemed easy for me to write this within 4 months. I also love to tell stories or recalling past events, but the hardest part in this particular book was because of the emotions during different times described. I needed to take breaks when recalling those events. But I had a tremendous work ethic when I was working, and I did the same thing as an author. So as I was writing this, I had a Monday through Friday schedule. And I was detailed enough to make sure I treated it like the job, because the job, like my relationship or my marriage, this is the best job you can have if this is something that you put work into. So if you put it in, you can get it out. So I treated everything that way to be the best version of myself I could be.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes when you're writing a book, you discover things about yourself that you didn't always know. It's like you've lived with yourself your whole life and you go into writing a book and then you discover things about yourself that you never knew. What did you discover about yourself that you didn't know before writing the book?
It was the level of perseverance. I mean, I always thought that, and my dad raised me in such a way to be prepared for almost anything, good or bad, and to push through and get through circumstances. And tough times will be around the corner. And you have to remember when you're in the middle of that you haven't always been in the middle of that. And just as simple and quick as things may have came to be to get you into that situation, you can get out of it. And you just have to persevere and utilize different things. Like a lot of people don't like to share when they're in those tough moments. And I found that you need to communicate, because there was a lot of things that's even within this book that I didn't share at the time. And for me to, when I wrote this book, I have a lot of things in there, like if it was my older self or my version now going back to my younger self. So what I decided to do, I've always lived a life of trying to help others. So this book also is to try to help others that may not know yet, may not have realized that they need to communicate with someone. And everything will be easier. And I know it's hard because a lot of times people like to keep things internally, and a lot of people like to be tough, or a lot of people don't like them to know when people are going through things. But we all go through something tough. We all go through tough times, and it's not an embarrassment to go through it. It's not an embarrassment to share that and ask for help. And if you do share that, people are more than willing to help.
That's so deep. And I always say that love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. And you've written this wonderful book about love, on the subject of love. And I do realize that when people take their own lives, I'm going to take it back to the suicide prevention aspect of it. So when a person takes their own life, it comes from a lack of love somewhere. So your book, When Love Calls You Better Answer, can really be a topic for someone who's contemplating suicide. And if I call you, you're feeling down and out, don't be afraid to pick up that phone and talk and let the person know what you're going through. Love is calling you. Answer the call and share your deepest feelings. Bill, I want to ask you, if there's someone watching this podcast right now who may be feeling suicidal, life has been hard for them, they've gone through hardships, they're ready to give up, what advice would you give to that person to hold on just a little bit longer?
I would let that person know that they may think that no one cares about them, no one loves them. But the fact that they've reached out to whoever it is, in this case, I'll say it to me, in the event that they've reached out to myself and shared that information, I appreciate the fact that they've done that. It shows me that they care about me, and believe me, I care about you. And I care enough for you to reach out to me and tell me something that was like very private for you. And I will do the best I can to encourage you and tell you the truth, because almost everybody that I've ever met is like, you have to have love for that person on the most minute level as a human being. And if someone's sharing something to you, even if somebody's telling you something that you think, why are they telling me this? They're telling you that so you can reciprocate, so they can be heard. So you need to listen to what they're saying and just open up to them. Let them open up to you, digest it, and then tell them that you care about them. Tell them that you appreciate the fact that they reached out, and it's important that they continue to do so.
Yes, definitely. Because people who feel suicidal, they're very lonely and they don't feel connected to other people, and they feel alone. They feel unloved. So just spreading the love to them and letting them know that they matter is what's going to make the difference. I have the suicide lifeline number here, 988. Just like in a medical emergency, you can dial 911. Well, there is now a line established, 988. You dial this number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And there are trained professionals there who can help you. They may not be able to solve your problem right then and there in that moment, but they can take you by the hand and guide you down a path of help. And so I also understand for you, Bill, in your past, your background, you used to work with people who were feeling suicidal on a lifeline call, something like this?
Yes, a long time ago, back in 1980, I was a long distance telephone operator, and I had people that was calling into a suicide prevention phone number, and the only way to reach that number back then was by dialing O and getting the operator. But the problem was, at the time when they did that, there were times when the phone lines were busy which was terrifying for long distance operators because we were not trained on how to handle that. But when we used to have to get them on the phone, we couldn't hang up. We couldn't tell them to hold on and be quiet. We knew that this person was thinking about committing suicide. So fortunately for myself, one of my majors when I went to school was psychology, and me being a caring person, it just flipped my switch and automatically turned on my humanity to a higher level. And I wanted to talk to that person, and I tried to get a rapport with that person. And the fortunate thing for me was that I have been always told that I have a soft and soothing voice. And when they used to hear me talk to them, I was putting them at ease. I was telling them exactly, it's like, hey, I really care about you. I really want you to stay here. I just met you and you seem like a very good person. And I know things are hard right now. And I would give them words of encouragement. And I said, if you know that I care about you as a person and I just met you, I know that there has to be some person or some people in your life that knows you better than I. And they would love for you to talk to them right now as well. Or after this phone call, after I connect you through to the people that can help you. So please, please, I want you to stay with me. Hold on. Anything you want to discuss, I'm here for you. And whoever, when we get them on the line, they'll be able to help you and everything will be fine. And then once I got them to the phone, I would have to take a minute after they answered the call because I'm like, wow, I just can't believe that. And then it kept happening. It seemed like either my coworkers were transferring some of those calls to me, but I just took it that I felt God was directing those callers to me so I can help them because I had the wherewithal and the patience and the love to do that for them.
Mm-hmm. And it's a gift too. There's a gift there inherently. Wow, that's beautiful. So you're a lifesaver on top of being a published author and an amazing person, basketball coach. You're a lifesaver. That's beautiful. And see, I admire and respect people like you who dedicate their lives to enhancing the lives of other people. That's beautiful, Bill. Thank you for all you do.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
That's beautiful. So this podcast is all about love. When love calls, you better answer. I love it. I love the title of that. And so when my father passed away, the night of the tragedy, as I laid in my bed and I got the phone call, I knew in that moment that I wanted to do something to honor him because his final act that he committed, I didn't want him to be defined by that one moment in his life when he had done so many wonderful, great things. And one of the great things he did was he had a radio show many years ago called Speaking of Sports. So when he died, I thought, I want to do a radio show, but I don't know anything about sports. So I call this podcast Speaking of Love because I know more about love than I do sports in honor of my dad's show, Speaking of Sports. I'm going to put his picture here to show you had a picture of him during his radio days. And that's him in the studio behind him, Speaking of Sports. So this show, Speaking of Love, the $1 million question that I ask all my guests who sit before me, Bill, is how do you define love?
Ooh, that is out of all of the emotions, this one is the toughest one to describe. I mean, I define love as having a deep affection or pleasure in something or someone, with select people being at the top of that list. And then things such as sports, travel, etc. Love is also generosity, giving, kindness, and showing grace and mercy. You can have love for so many things and so many people. You can even have love for a stranger. I mean, just on the basic level of humanity, you have to show love for people. It's like there were times in my life where it's just like if someone's walking, I see them drop something or drop some money. If they don't notice that they drop it, if I'm behind them, I will pick it up and stop them and let them know. If I see a woman coming toward the door, or any person for that matter, I'll keep the door open. I won't let it close on them. I'm more aware of things and people. There's been times where I've seen car accidents on the street and I pulled over, jumped out, tried to help. And just basic humanity. And it's like you can have so much love, and the more love that you show to people, I don't expect it back, but I think there's something to it that if you're a good person and you do good things, at some point good things will happen to you. So I've always tried to live my life the way I would love people to treat me. So whether I get it or not, that's fine, but I've done my part. And if that's one person helping the rest of the world, like yourself, good things come. The good things eventually come.
Yes, that's my personal creed in life. Whatever you put out into the universe, it comes back multiplied. If you give love, you're going to receive love. If you give hate, you're going to receive hate. If you lie, you'll be lied to. If you steal, you'll be stolen from. So whatever we do, there is a karmic debt that's coming our way, whether we're paying it out or it's coming back into to us in positive ways. So thank you for that, Bill. Thank you. So, Bill, at this time, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we conclude the interview? I'm going to put your book up here, the cover of your book, When Love Calls, You Better Answer. You guys can go right to Amazon, type in the information. His name is Bill Newsome. Type in the name and the title of the book and purchase it right on Amazon. Bill, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before you go?
I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this very important message about love, and to make sure that people reach out to others. And as far as the book goes, I love to thank those that have already purchased it. If anyone is going to purchase it, I really appreciate the fact that you've done that. I do believe that, and I'm not just saying this because I wrote it, if I were to have read this book, if anyone else's name was on this book, I would have purchased it. I would have told a lot of people about it. And there's certain things in this book, since I mentioned, it's not just a love story, it's a life story. It's something that we've all either gone through or something similar. And this is just my particular take on how I've gotten through it, my personal story on how I've gotten through it. At the end of the love story, when I get to the epilogue of the book, I am sharing my 2 cents, if you will, because I've been around. I'll be 68 in August. So I think I have the background and experience to help give younger people that may not have experienced certain things what you should do to enhance your be with someone, relationship ability. And it's not just a relationship with the person that you want to have a personal relationship. It could even be, if your parents are still fortunate to be here with you, how to interact with them. You have to remember, your parents were people once before they became a parent, and they had lives. How many of you have asked them what type of things they do? My parents have passed away, and I haven't had the opportunity or wherewithal or thought to ask them basic questions. Where'd you guys meet? What type of things did you like to do when you were younger? So those are things that I'll never know. But I've encouraged my children to either ask those questions, which they were shy. So this book was for them to let them know, hey, this is how me and your mom met, and just things like that. So if you do purchase the book, I really appreciate it. If once you have purchased the book, if you can just leave a review, that would be appreciative as well, because I know that LaToya knows she's a best-selling author. The only way to get sales with the algorithm, people need to know that it's worth buying. And the only way they need to know it's worth buying, it's not just the word of mouth. You need to leave a review. And the better the review, and I'm not trying to strew anyone to a particular direction, be honest. Be honest with what you think. If you think it's great, I appreciate it. If you think it's trash, I'll accept that. But I do believe that you will think it's a wonderful book. And as LaToya knows as well, have your tissue ready.
That's beautiful,
There's
Bill.
good and bad. There's good and bad with everything.
So if anyone wants to reach out to Bill, I have his Facebook handle here, and I'm going to read it off to you. It's Sheila Bill Newsome. Your wife's name is Sheila Bill Newsome. That's his Facebook handle. And then I have his Instagram handle here. It's Bill Newsome. Bill Newsome on Instagram. And I also have your email address here, Bill, which is billnewsomeauthor@gmail.com. billnewsomeauthor@gmail.com. Please reach out to him, connect with him in his wonderful book, When Love Calls, You Better Answer.
Thank you so much, Latoya.
Now, Bill, I have one last question for you before we go.
Mhm.
When the pages of your life are reviewed and your mission here on the planet Earth is complete, what do you most want to be remembered for, Bill?
Oh, this is a tough question. I've always strived to live my life as best as I could as a person and a human being. I believe that people would say that I'm a family man by being a good husband, father, and provider, as well as a man of faith, a loyal and true friend, a caring person, and a person who told the truth. People would also say that I was consistent and I meant what I said, and I happened to be a really good athlete, particularly a very good basketball player, that I was a knowledgeable person, not only about sports, but highly intelligent in general, and that I had a great sense of humor. And boy, did I love Sheila, and that they loved to travel and go on adventures.
Wow, that's so heartfelt. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for being here. Being with you before you right now, it just warmed my heart. You have so many connections to my dad. I feel like I'm walking in his gift today by interviewing you. And I really truly want to give a shout out to Mitch from the Murder Suicide Loss Network. He connected us together, and I'm so happy that he did. I don't even think Mitch realized the similarities in the lives. And you're only 2 years younger than my dad. My dad was born 2 years after you. So 2 years before you, I'm sorry. So it's just so many connections that I see. And I really, really appreciate you for being here. You're an amazing guy. And if love is your impetus for living, then you're living the right life. So thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
And Mitch, if you're watching, thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mitch. Thank you so much. And I bow to your excellence, Mr. Newsome. Keep up the great work. Keep up the great work and keep loving your wife, Sheila, and keep loving the world. Keep saving lives and keep doing what you do. You're amazing.
Thank you. And Latoya, we're now friends. So if you need to reach out, you know how to get a hold of me.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate you for being here. You were my 144th episode here of Speaking of Love. I'm going on almost 5 years of doing this, and I'm truly blessed. I have met some amazing people from all around the world, different walks of life, and Bill, you are one of them, and I thank you again. I will be back next month with another episode of Speaking of Love. If you have missed any portion of this podcast, the recordings will live forever on YouTube and Facebook, and I'm also going to upload it all to all major podcast platforms. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, everywhere, wherever you choose to listen to podcasts, Speaking of Love is there. So thank you all so much. Reach out to Bill, purchase his book, support him. This is Black History Month, and then it's also Valentine's Day coming up. So this episode is very, very important this month. And I appreciate you all for being here. Have a great day. And I'll be back March 1st. I have another guest coming March 1st. So I'll see you guys Saturday, March 1st. Have a good day.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.